Welcome to Real Estate Investing Abundance, the show for busy, fulfilled professionals like you to learn how to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. Now, here is your host, Dr. Alan Lomax.
Hello, enlightened investors. Welcome back to Real Estate Investing Abundance. I'm your host, Dr. Alan. Thank you so much for being with us again today. We're always delighted to have you with us. Today, we're going to be talking about the best way to go from residential to commercial real estate investing. And to help us on this journey is Ian Horowitz, who is a former career firefighter with Baltimore City turned real estate investor. And he has grown his portfolio to over 70 million of assets with a concentration on self-storage and multifamily. So Ian, take us into the show and share an experience that may have helped you to be who you are today.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to summarize in such a short period of time, but I would say one of the most formative things that resonates with me, and I think would resonate to your audience, is I remember sitting in a firehouse one time, and we were working with a lieutenant, and he had almost 50 years on the job, and I said, "Lieutenant, you realize like you've been working longer than you've been alive. You have more work years than you do like childhood years." He's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "So why are you still working?" And he just said, "Oh, my pension, my benefits, I just don't know anything better." And that just messed me up because I was like, man, I want to be able to enjoy life at a young age. I want to be able to provide for my family, but more importantly, I don't want to rely on someone else to form my retirement and be in control of my life. And that really messed me up, seeing that man work for 50 years and then retiring and then just not enjoying much more than a year or two after retirement. And that was it. And that really messed me up and ultimately led me down the path that we are in today. So,
Yeah. Well, the average lifespan after retirement is actually about 2 years. And it really isn't because people are retiring so late in life. It is because most people just aren't ready for that. And they just retire and they don't have a plan and they don't have a life. And they just essentially just kind of give up, which seems to be really the cause of death after retirement.
yeah, there's this watching the no drive or no purpose, right? And being able to create a lifestyle and something that we're passionate about that, I joke around all the time with my business partners. We'll be doing real estate deals probably all the way to the grave because it's such a great business and it's something that we're passionate about and it's fun to do. So good point there.
Yeah, I don't plan to retire. So
So you love real estate just like I do. I love it. So
well, you are in both multifamily and self-storage. So let's just start off with really what are the benefits of self-storage as opposed to the multifamily?
yeah, let me just preface this. This is not a political statement by any means, but what happened during COVID and the realization that you're not really in control of your asset and the amount of consumer laws that surround your multifamily property or your residential real estate that you're leasing is probably more than you can ever fathom. And they really came to the forefront during COVID. We weren't allowed to evict side by side with, they weren't releasing the eviction protection fund. So it's like, we're handcuffed. Like, what do you want us to do? We're trying to do right by the property and the tenant. We need to do this. And they wouldn't release either. So it like really tied our hands. Now, right before COVID, we had gotten involved in self-storage, and all during self-storage, we were still able to raise rents. We were still able to auction people's units off. The business remained autonomous. We didn't have to worry about someone coming in the office and doing virtual tours if they were scared of COVID and all that things. It's like self-storage was an autonomous business that kept going all the way through COVID, and it really became the front runner there. Also with that, self-storage is more of an operating business, and it really itches something inside of us where it's like residential real estate, you can only raise rents really once a year, and there's not really much to do in between. Self-storage is an operating business. You got customer service, you got marketing, you have the ability to raise rents at any time. You have the ability to remove someone at any time. So to me, you have much more autonomy to move and protect your asset than you do in multifamily. And I don't want to ruin your follow-up question because I got to assume is, well, why do you still invest in multifamily? Multifamily has its benefits too of being a workhorse asset. People need places to live. So you got to kind of play both. However, we prefer, if we could, to remain in the self-storage side of things, just because we believe there's more autonomy, there's more scale, and there's more opportunity on that side of the plate.
Well, those are things I hadn't really given a whole lot of thought to in terms of those benefits, but those are really remarkable benefits, particularly in high rental control areas. And I could see how you could still do very well in self-storage in those counties and in those various different states.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, like California obviously gets the big X most of the time in this country, and they literally tried stopping auction foreclosures or auctions inside self-storage units and rent raises. That lasted all of like 3 days, and the self-storage lobby or association out there went and said, absolutely not. And California said, you know what? You're right. We're not going to mess with this. So literally the whole country had no effect inside the self-storage industry. And whoever the forefathers to self-storage were to think about that ahead of time, they set the business up very nice for all of us later on in life. So it's been good. So
you had an interesting trajectory from your career in firefighting to real estate investing. So if you could just, briefly take us through that transition. You shared with us why you started to make that transition, but tell us how that transition went.
Yeah, it went. Let's take it back a little bit. We got hired in 07 and 08. My business partner and I, down in Baltimore City. We wanted to be big city firemen, and we thought we were getting a great government career job. And, we all know what happens in 2008. Financial crisis happens. We're getting furloughed. They're messing with our pension. They're changing our schedule. They're changing our benefits. They're closing companies. We don't pay Social Security. Like, there's all these crazy things. Pension funds across the country are going bankrupt in California and Michigan, and private industry, Bethlehem Steel, like all these big companies, pension systems are just getting wiped out. And we're like, oh my. So in the first 4 years inside the fire department, we just got our butts whooped, absolutely whooped. And in 2012, I took the step to buy my first rental property. My business partner, coincidentally, he got crushed in 08 trying to refinance his first house that he bought. He started wholesaling, to pay off debt. And what we found was it was like, man, like we couldn't work overtime. There was no overtime availabilities because the city didn't have money. They were closing companies. There was too much staff. And it was like, man, we can't work overtime. We can't provide for our families. And then we're also kind of simultaneously hitting that age group of approaching 30. We all know what happens. Women 30 got to have kids, like immediately have kids. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I got to afford daycare and all this other crazy stuff. And I don't know if I want to do that. I'm like, how do I afford to live on like 60 grand a year? And, and we just started buying real estate as like a retirement plan. It was like, cool. I bought my very first house. I was all in. Listen, to tell you I was in at 50 grand, it probably wasn't. Maybe it was more, maybe it was less. We weren't doing books like that. It was day one, project one. But I figured I was in somewhere between 50 and 60 grand, and I got $1,250 rent. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I just cash flowed $600 rent, or cash flowed $600 on my very first property. That is like almost a whole paycheck for me. I got to do this again. And my business partner made 20, 30 grand on his first wholesale deal. He's like, dude, I just made like a third of our salary in one shot. And that was really the catalyst to it, to say, okay, let's secure our retirements. And then from securing our retirements, it just grew and grew and grew and grew to where we created this business that we have today. But really, and there's some other things like our work conditions. If you ever watch The Wire or any of the riots that happened, like we worked in some of the worst neighborhoods in Baltimore City. And it's like a person can only tolerate so much inside of a war zone for so long. And at a certain point, you're like, man, this is not good to my health, being up all night, getting startled out of the bed to go take a fire. You're going from 0 to 1,000. So you had all these like different factors that kind of came into play that allowed us to continue to grow our business and kind of forced our hand to grow our business just to survive and be healthy. And that's how we grew our business to what it is today.
Well, you have had substantial growth there and impressive growth to a point of 70 million plus in assets. So can you just kind of outline that journey and what were some of the milestones along the way? And I mean, obviously, as you started out, you were kind of playing by the seat of your pants, but you've obviously had to systematize and come up with strategies that work. So how did you go through that process?
Yeah, and listen, we're not smart. We went to the school of hard knocks. Neither of us are college trained. This is not, it's not like we went to college. We're going to be real estate professionals. It was, hey, I bought a house and it worked. Simultaneously, look, I didn't know that 2012 is the absolute bottom of the market, or maybe 2014, somewhere in that range. It's the absolute bottom. We have no trauma from 2008. Like, I didn't go through 2008. You might have went through 2008. I wasn't a real estate investor. I got blinders on. That was advantage number one. Advantage number two was we have grit and determination, right? Like, I always used to tell people, like, when we went to a fire, you cannot leave until it's out. So here we are, we're start building some houses. We got fires in our houses, in our portfolio, not in a literal sense, right? You got a problem with the tenant, you got a problem with this. We just kept going back to I tell everyone, we were dumb enough to keep going back and doing it over and over and over again till we got it right, because we learned that in the fire department, you cannot leave until that fire's out. So that was probably point number two. Point number three is probably doing single family real estate and getting really stinking good at it over and over and over and over again. We built almost 100 flips in a 2-year period or a 3-year period. Then we built a 100-house rental portfolio in that same time frame, a little bit afterwards. So in 6 years, we do almost 200 houses of going in, rinse and repeat. This is what we're doing over and over and over again. It allowed us to build a team. It allowed us to build systems. It allowed us to build processes. And as we added the people on our team, a project manager, cool. We could go concentrate on all the stuff that we weren't concentrating on it. Taxes, raising private capital, streamlining our property management system. And as those things started to balance out, cool, I don't need to micromanage this anymore. I'm going to go look at different asset classes. And it just, the inflection points, well, they weren't like, this happened and I did this exact thing when that exactly happened. No, it was like, cool, I got some free time. Now what do I go work on? Cool, I got some more free time. Now what do I go work on? And that was a natural progression. Looking back on it, it was like, oh yeah, when I hired Ryan as our proper project manager, who now runs our whole operation, it was like, man, that was a huge stress relief. And to be clear, 60 grand salary at that time, we had no clue how we were going to pay it. And we're like, all right, let's just hire him. And it's like, relief off our shoulders. Cool. Now we hired an office manager, relief off our shoulders, and just continued to grow. I wish they were clear cut in real time. And for those of you that are operators, there is no clear cut like realization that happens, but looking back on it, they do come to the forefront. And then pattern recognition going forward becomes clearer as you go down the path of continuing to build your real estate investing business.
Enlightened investors, if you haven't done so already, be sure and click that like button and also click that share so others can take advantage of the content. And finally, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single one of our upcoming episodes. Yeah, those tough decisions, and I'm facing some of those right now. I absolutely need to hire help, and it's like, oh God, a huge expense. But I know I've got to do it, and now it's just deciding on how that's going to be managed and taken care of.
Yeah, and I think people get scared of it, right? Like we got scared of it. We had no clue, and we're like, hire another project manager. What do we need another project manager for? And it's like, man, like it is scary. But as you start to relieve those tasks off you, you don't realize how much of a burden it is. Like the day I quit the fire department, I loved it. I mean, I'm telling you, I loved it. We loved it. We loved being firemen. The day we quit, there was a weight off our shoulders that was lifted, and we tripled our business within like a 2-year period. I mean, it was absolutely insane because you don't realize what weighs on your brain all the time. And it's scary, but you know what? If you hire the right person the first time and spend time hiring that right person the first time, it'll go a long way. And I think a lot of people have trauma around hiring the wrong person and having to fire them and be like, nobody can do it as good as me. Well, everybody can do it as good as you. They just might not do it the same way that you're going to do it. And you need to recognize that. And as long as the task is completed in the proper amount of time, then you should be able to allow to relinquish control and continue on and know that those tasks are getting done.
Well, I can do a lot of things and I can do a lot of things and do them very well, but there's only 24 hours in the day.
Yes.
And because there's only 24 hours in the day, the quality of a lot of things I'm doing suffers, not because I don't have the capability, I just don't have the time to it. So, yeah, something's got to give. Well, thank you for sharing that with me. That gives me some to go forward there.
I would say just do it, man. Just do it. If you've been thinking about it, do it. We used, I know this isn't a conversation around hiring, but something that helped us that we recognized. Someone told us, hey, when learn the DISC personality test, you'll apply it everywhere in your business at all times. And they used it a lot for capital investors, identifying capital investors using the DISC personality. Well, it's the same thing with hiring employees. And actually, some of the VA sites that we use, they require them to take a DISC personality test. And that's actually really important to me. And I think if you put that in your hiring process and you can identify someone who's the opposite of you, or, hey, I'm hiring an office manager. Well, you probably want them to be an S and a C, maybe not so much an I, because then they're just going to be on the phone all the time, wasting your money, right? Versus a project manager, you need them to be a high D, like go be a D, go make a decision and keep it moving. So I think there's a lot of good tools out there. And look, we're not hiring experts by any mean, but I think you can utilize it in every facet of your business. And it's worked very well for us.
Certainly through all of this, you've definitely had some challenges and some setbacks, but you just don't go through life without those. So what was one of your most challenging setbacks, and what did you learn from that, and how did you come through that?
Yeah, I'd say one of the most challenging setbacks usually regards around scaling, not only for us, but for most real estate investors. Hey, I do one deal good. I can do 10 deals good. No, you can do one deal good, and doing 10 is really stinking hard. So early on in our careers, we actually had a securities attorney who we've learned a ton from. Like, don't get me wrong, I've learned a lot from the gentleman. Rule number 2, don't do business with lawyers. It's a headache. But what the challenge really became was the separation of the partnership long term, because what we found out is if the two partners didn't have their goals that aligned, right? Like we were the operators, Dan and myself, and they were the capital, it was hard to navigate that whole process. What we found out was, looking back on it, he was late mid 60s. His other capital partner was early 60s. Their life priorities are totally different than Dan and I. They're looking at long-term generational wealth. And Dan and I are like, yeah, we need to feed our kids. We need to figure out how to produce cash. And they're like, well, this is a long game. I'm like, we don't disagree it's a long game. We also need to produce cash. So the goals weren't lined up. So that was troublesome. But then more importantly, the separation of the partnership and having that hard conversation is like, listen, man, this doesn't work. A lot of times when people stop a relationship, it's not just like, oh, hey, we're going to go about our business. There's usually some like beefing that goes on, and it makes it hard. Since then, we've all been able to talk about it and be friends. But again, it's hard when people's goals are not aligned when you're trying to invest in real estate or really do any business. So our learning lesson is, if we're going to do business with someone, they need to have the same common goals, same common ideas as us. And we even tell our capital investors, hey, look, we're buying a property. We might never sell it. I just want to let you know, you're investing in this property. We might never sell it. And I just want to let you know that up front now. And I want to make sure that you have the same common goal as us. And that's really what we learned is, having those hard conversations. But again, like the fire department, the day we quit, we had that relief pulled off us. Same thing happened there too. Hey man, this is dead weight. We cut it. Boom. We exponentially grew within the next 6 months after getting out of that partnership. Out of that partnership allowed us to really get into commercial real estate because that was such an operational drag. We cut it off. They cut it off, and we were able to grow from that experience. So really just knowing what's dragging you down. And if it is a partnership, it is a very difficult discussion to have. So
Going from single family to multifamily, many real estate investors I talked to have made that transition. What was that transition like for you, and why did you make that decision to go from single family, which was working for you and working well for you? Why did you decide to go from single family to multifamily? Because they are very different asset classes.
yeah, again, I wish I could say I was a genius. Like when we started investing in 2012, we just knew the market was going to be perfect, but it wasn't. It was, we stumbled on a 7-unit building. We were able to buy that. It was really our big first commercial transaction. We didn't really know. We just kind of faked it till we made it. But you know what? We looked at it and said, these 7 units, if we bought it as a house, what would that look like? It was pretty easy to compare. Side by side with that, a little bit after we bought that, it was like, man, pricing, we just kept getting priced out of single family real estate. And we're like, dude, I cannot compete. Like we were paying $25,000 for shells. We were all in for 120 grand. And within like 3 months, actually, people are paying 60 grand for shells. And the properties are still only worth 150 grand. I'm like, how are you guys making money? Like, you can't be making money. And we said, we're not doing this. It allowed me to start studying some other projects. And honestly, it was like, man, multifamily can be easier, or commercial real estate in general. It was, all right, I'm going to apply our same skill set that we have, but we're applying it in scale, and we can handle that. And there were some scaling challenges there, but there's a big difference in scaling into a 76 unit apartment building than buying 76 houses. Even if all 76 houses were in the same row, right? Like a row home, all those row homes, there's still an operational challenge to that. Whereas we're at one site, one location, one everything. And that really showed us that it's like there's power in numbers by going to the multifamily and then ultimately going into complete commercial real estate. It shows us that and the capital is easier. People have pride of ownership. They want to be a capital investor in the deals. Vendors want to work with you, even though sometimes it's more expensive because they see commercial and their eyeballs get big. The same sense, they're also like, hey, like, I'm willing to work with you because you have a lot of work here, and vendors are willing to break prices. We had to buy 440 windows for our 76 unit apartment building. We had people banging down our door to do that window project. Whereas I try to get someone to go do 6 windows in a row home, I'm getting my butt whooped, and I'm competing with homeowners paying market prices. So there's a lot of competitive advantages to being inside commercial real estate and multifamily self-storage that I think present itself. And you don't really know that until you get down in the trenches. The outside looking in, you're like, oh, it's commercial, it's more expensive. But really, it's more expensive because of the scale that you're dealing with.
Well, tell us about your company and what opportunities you have to offer, and how it is, can we get in touch with you?
Yeah. My name's Ian, and we are under Equity Warehouse. You can find us pretty much anywhere on the internet, equitywarehouse.com and all the social sites. But, Dan and myself, Dan's my business partner, and we co-invest with our investors. So what does that mean? Our friends and family, who are mostly firemen, teachers, nurse, first responders, we have some sophisticated investors as well. Basically, we're providing the best opportunities that we can find that we're willing to co-invest with them. They are investing side by side with us. Some people call it syndication. Well, we're not true syndicators. We don't look to make a bunch of fees. We're looking to enjoy the cash flows the same way all the other investors are in our projects. And that's really what we do. And you can see a bunch of case studies that we have at equitywarehouse.com on how we've structured other co-investments. And again, like I said, we're not syndicators. We're not looking to pick up fees. We're looking to do good projects and bring good deals to our friends and family who normally don't get to see opportunities like this.
Well, Ian, one other question here, and that is, when did you go from multifamily and into the self-storage?
Yeah, so in 2019, we had bought, going into 2020, we had bought a 7-unit building, we had bought a small warehouse, and we had bought a 34-unit apartment building, a couple other small portfolio transactions. When we bought that 34-unit apartment building, a 76-unit apartment building came to us, and the seller owner financed 90% of it. It was a $5 million purchase. It was like a sweetheart deal. And we had a bunch of success on that deal. And we said, well, how do we continue to do this? Like, is that repeatable? Like, that was amazing. How do we repeat that? But, we're up here, our office and most of our real estate's in Baltimore. And the problem was we just could not find the inventory. And the inventory that we were competing on was all sophisticated operators. I mean, we got New York money, DC money, Florida money, Philadelphia money. Like, all this money floods the Baltimore market because they're chasing returns. And we cannot compete with it, and we can't get opportunities, and not opportunities at scale. And we found self-storage through some friends of ours, and we're like, man, self-storage has opportunity. We bought a facility, had some success with it, bought another facility, had some success with it. And then we found out we had a lot of opportunity to scale, and there was a runway of inventory, which was not true in the multifamily space, especially. We're operators in Baltimore City. We see some interesting things in Baltimore City from a single family side and from the multifamily side. And we're like, I cannot imagine buying an asset in Oklahoma or Texas or wherever and trusting a property manager to run that. But what I can do is I can run a self-storage facility from Baltimore anywhere in this country, or I can run a self-storage facility anywhere in this world, or I can be anywhere in this world and run it anywhere in this country. So with that being said, it was an opportunity for us to create market diversity. It was an opportunity for us to create scale and really just be able to grow in a scalable fashion where we're not competing with a lot of other people. Now, there's been a lot more competition as of recent, but we still believe there's a ton of runway, not only from buying existing facilities, but doing developments. There's a lot of opportunity in this country. There's a lot of markets that are underserved, and that's allowing us to continue to grow and have predictable growth rather than saying, okay, I'm going to compete on a bunch of multifamily deals and I don't know when I'm going to get my next one. So.
Well, Ian, thank you so much for being with us. Very enlightening conversation. It's been a pleasure having you.
Yes, thanks for having me, and appreciate it. And hopefully your audience finds value in all this fun content.
Well, I am sure they will. And enlightened investors, thank you so much for being with us. Please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. And I would be very greatly appreciated if you could go over to Apple Podcast and leave us a rating and a review. Until next time, live abundantly, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Enlightened investors, wait, don't go just yet. I just want to remind you about our recently launched webinar that you will not want to miss. If you're at all curious and would like to learn more about how real estate investing can diversify your investment portfolio, alleviate the anxiety associated with Wall Street swings, leverage your 401ks and IRAs to substantially increase the return on your investment, and do all of this with turnkey, hands-off, passive real estate investments, then you'll want to immediately go to stevetalker.com/webinar. In the webinar, we'll also address the common dubious investment schemes that you want to avoid. To access the webinar, go to stevetalker.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you in the webinar.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Estate Investing Abundance, brought to you by Steve Talker Capital, a company working for passionate professionals like you to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steve Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine. These endeavors attempt to enhance the human treatment of horses worldwide. Steve Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. For resources to develop your financial independence, connect with us at stevetalker.com.